Okay, so get ready, because we're going to a place that just seems impossible. It's a place where faith, you could say, literally moves mountains.
Wow.
We're diving deep into Lalibela. Have you heard of Lalibela?
I have.
It's a site in Ethiopia where there are these 11 churches, and get this, they were each carved from single blocks of stone.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I know you're probably thinking, how is that even possible?
It's mind-boggling.
And that is exactly what we're going to explore today. We'll be using a 60 minutes piece that visited these churches during a massive Christmas pilgrimage. And trust me, what you're about to hear is a blend of architectural genius, spiritual devotion, and mysteries that continue to captivate the world.
You know, what's fascinating about Lalibela is that it's not just about incredible craftsmanship. It's about trying to understand why. Why would a civilization undertake such a monumental task? And what can we learn from their dedication, their artistry, and their unwavering faith?
That's exactly it. It's not just about pretty buildings. It's about delving into the history, the culture, and the sheer human effort that went into creating something so extraordinary. So let's just start with the basics. We're talking about the Ethiopian highlands, a landscape shaped by volcanic eruptions millions of years ago. I mean, can you even imagine the kind of forces that must have been at play to create this dramatic setting?
It's really crucial to picture this landscape, to really get a sense of it, because the type of rock found in the Ethiopian highlands, this red basalt, it actually played a key role in making these churches possible. And, you know, the 60 Minutes piece, they described it as being unusually lightweight because of trapped gases.
Oh, interesting.
Which made it easier to carve.
So it's almost as if the very earth provided the perfect material for this monumental undertaking.
He did, yeah.
But who orchestrated this incredible feat? Enter King Lalibela, a 12th century ruler who dreamed of creating a new Jerusalem in Africa.
And this vision wasn't just born out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
At the time, Jerusalem had fallen to Islamic forces, and this event, it profoundly impacted the Christian world. And King Lalibela, a devout Christian himself, aimed to create a spiritual sanctuary for his people, a place of pilgrimage that would rival the original Jerusalem.
Okay, so this wasn't just about replicating buildings, it was about creating a beacon of faith. It was a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. Now, there's this legend, right? This captivating legend that angels helped build the churches overnight. Can you imagine waking up one day and finding a church just, poof, carved out of solid rock? I mean, where do we even begin to separate fact from fiction in this story?
It's a story that just grabs your imagination, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that angels descended from heaven to carve these churches overnight, I mean, that speaks volumes about the awe and reverence people felt toward them. But practically speaking, achieving such a feat, even with divine intervention, raises some logistical eyebrows.
Right. Even angels would need some pretty heavy-duty chisels, right? But maybe the story isn't meant to be taken literally.
Right.
Maybe it's more about the scale of ambition, the sense of wonder these churches evoked, that they seemed almost impossible to achieve by human hands alone.
Exactly. It's about capturing the spirit of the endeavor, the just extraordinary effort involved, and that divine inspiration that fueled it all.
Yeah.
You can think of it as like a testament to the power of human ambition guided by faith.
So let's shift our focus to the people who make Lalibela truly come alive, the pilgrims. The 60 Minutes piece showed scenes of almost 200,000 people gathering on Christmas Eve, all robed in white. Their faces a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. It's just an incredible spectacle of faith.
And it's not just a one-day event. Many pilgrims, they embark on journeys lasting days or even weeks. They're walking across really challenging terrain, fasting, enduring hardship. And it's all as a testament to their devotion.
Yeah.
Imagine the stories they carry with them, the sacrifices they make just to reach this sacred place.
Yeah. There's this powerful quote from the piece that really stuck with me, and it goes, "We were falling and getting back up throughout the journey." It's such a vivid image of their unwavering determination. What do you think compels people to make such arduous pilgrimages?
Yeah, that's a question that really goes to the heart of faith, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For some, it's a deeply personal act of seeking connection with the divine. For others, it's a communal experience, a way to connect with their heritage and to be part of something larger than themselves.
Yeah, I remember reading about how they invest in the afterlife through these pilgrimages. It's as if their journey mirrors the hardships they believe they will endure after death.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. The physical trials of the pilgrimage, they actually become a way to prepare for the spiritual journey that lies ahead. They believe that by enduring suffering in this life, they earn their place in the afterlife.
Wow.
It gives a whole new dimension to their resilience, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And that brings us to the churches themselves. How are these incredible structures actually built? I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that they were carved from single blocks of stone, not built brick by brick.
Yeah, the process was mind-bogglingly complex. Instead of building from the ground up, they started by carving a trench around the perimeter of the church. They essentially outlined its shape.
Oh, so they work from the outside in, like sculpting a giant statue.
Precisely. They dug down, creating this deep trench that isolated the massive block of stone that would eventually become the church. Then they started carving inwards, creating the walls, the ceilings, the intricate details, all from solid rock.
That is just incredible. And to think they did all this with limited technology, I mean, in a time when electricity was like a twinkle in someone's eye.
Yeah. And here's another detail that blew my mind. The 60 Minutes piece mentioned that a lot of the carving was actually done in near darkness.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine the level of skill and precision required to create such intricate details with such limited visibility?
That's insane. It's like performing brain surgery by candlelight. What techniques did they use? How did they even see what they were doing?
That's a great question. And unfortunately, the specifics of their techniques, they're still somewhat shrouded in mystery. We know they used basic tools, like chisels and hammers. But how exactly they achieved such precision in near darkness, well, it remains this fascinating puzzle for archaeologists and historians.
Right.
Maybe they used mirrors, for example, to reflect sunlight into the deeper recesses of the churches. Or maybe they relied on a system of torches and lamps. It's a real testament to their ingenuity and adaptability.
It makes you wonder if those challenging conditions, if they actually contributed to the unique beauty of the churches. Maybe working in near darkness forced them to rely more on touch, on intuition, and that resulted in these organic, almost flowing forms.
Yeah, that's a very thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
Perhaps the limitations they faced actually became this unexpected source of creativity, shaping the very aesthetic of Lalibela. And that leads us to another intriguing aspect. Even though they were carving from solid rock, they chose to mimic traditional building techniques.
What do you mean?
Well, you see archways, vaults, columns, all elements that would be necessary for structural support in a traditional building. But in solid rock, they're purely decorative.
Oh, so they weren't needed to hold up the structure.
No, not at all.
So they went through all that extra effort just for aesthetics. Why?
It speaks to their commitment to replicating not just the physical form of a church, but its spiritual essence. They wanted to create a space that felt familiar, that evoked that sacred atmosphere of traditional church architecture, even though they were working in a completely different medium.
It's like they were translating the language of faith from one material to another.
Beautifully put. And that brings us to one of the most intriguing claims surrounding Lalibela, the belief that it houses the Ark of the Covenant.
Wait, are we talking about the Ark of the Covenant?
Yes.
The one from Indiana Jones? The chest that supposedly holds the 10 Commandments? Is that really housed in Lalibela?
That's the claim. And it adds a whole other layer of mystique to this already extraordinary site. The story goes all the way back to the Queen of Sheba, a figure who appears in both the Bible and the Quran.
Okay.
According to Ethiopian tradition, she traveled to Jerusalem and she met King Solomon.
Okay, I'm already hooked. This sounds like something straight out of an ancient history thriller. Tell me more.
Okay, so they had a son together, Menelik VI, who later became the first king of the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia. And when he returned to Ethiopia, legend has it that he brought back the Ark of the Covenant with him. He was guided by a group of Israelites.
So the story intertwines biblical history with Ethiopian heritage, adding a layer of biblical weight to Lalibela's significance.
Absolutely. It elevates Lalibela from a New Jerusalem to potentially the guardian of one of the most sacred relics in Judeo-Christian tradition.
Wow.
And there's even this small structure in Lalibela called the Chapel of the Tablet, which is said to actually house the Ark.
And the head priest we saw in the 60 Minutes piece, he mentioned that people would travel for months to reach this holy site. Months. Imagine the dedication, the sheer willpower it would take to make that journey, especially back then. It's a pilgrimage through time itself.
It's a testament to the enduring power of faith and the deep connection people feel to this place, a connection that just transcends time and distance.
It's like they're not just traveling to a physical location, they're traveling to the very roots of their beliefs. And the 60 Minutes piece did such a beautiful job of capturing some of the ancient traditions that are still alive and well in Lalibela today.
Yes, they showed scenes from the Christmas Eve celebration. A truly sensory experience filled with chanting, drumming, and the use of ancient instruments like the kabara, a large double-hitted drum, and the sistrum, type of rattle.
And speaking of ancient, I read that the sistrum was known in North Africa 3,000 years before Jesus.
That's incredible.
It's incredible to think that an instrument played thousands of years ago is still part of a living religious tradition today. It makes the whole experience feel timeless, doesn't it?
You're absolutely right. The sistrum's presence in both ancient Egyptian rituals and contemporary Ethiopian Christian practices, it hints at this fascinating cultural continuity.
Yeah.
A blending of traditions across time and belief systems. It's a reminder that even in a place as unique as Lalibela, the threads of history are woven together in complex and unexpected ways.
It makes you wonder what other hidden connections, what other echoes of the past are woven into the fabric of Lalibela. And there was this one line from the chant they showed in the 60 Minutes piece that really resonated with me. We went from being punished by God to being his children again. There's so much emotion packed into that single sentence.
Yeah, it's a powerful expression of the concept of redemption that lies at the heart of Christianity. The idea of moving from punishment to forgiveness, from alienation to reconciliation, it resonates so deeply with the human experience.
Yeah.
And it connects to the very purpose of pilgrimage, to seek atonement, to reconnect with the divine, to return to a state of spiritual wholeness.
It's like they're carving not just churches out of stone, but a path back to grace.
Exactly. And that journey isn't always easy. It involves facing hardship, confronting one's own shortcomings, and ultimately seeking transformation.
And speaking of hardship, the churches themselves are facing their own challenges. 800 years of wear and tear, from wind, water, and even inconsistencies in the quality of the basalt itself are starting to take their toll. The 60 Minutes piece described it as good stone, and very bad stone that crumbles when you touch it. It's kind of heartbreaking to think that something so magnificent is inherently fragile.
Yeah, it's a sobering reminder that even the most awe-inspiring creations are subject to the forces of time and nature. And it raises a crucial question. How do we preserve these irreplaceable treasures for future generations? How do we ensure that the legacy of Lalibela endures?
Right, we can't just stand by and watch these incredible churches just crumble away. What's being done to protect them? Are there any solutions in sight?
Thankfully, there are people dedicated to safeguarding Lalibela for future generations, and their task is far more complex than simply repairing damaged stone. Remember, we're dealing with a site where every rock, every crack is imbued with spiritual significance.
So how do you balance the need for preservation with the reverence for the original structure?
That's the challenge, and it's where the story of Lalibela takes an even more fascinating turn. Let's dive into the world of conservation, where modern techniques meet ancient beliefs, and where the very act of preserving history becomes this delicate dance between science and faith. Yeah, it's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? The very act of carving these churches from the earth, this incredible display of human devotion and ingenuity, well, it also made them inherently vulnerable.
Yeah, it's like this constant battle against the elements, a race against time to preserve something that was meant to last for eternity. So, who are the people on the front lines of this battle? Who are the guardians of Lalibela's legacy?
One of the key figures in the fight to save Lalibela is a master stonemason. His name is Simon Warwick.
Oh, okay.
He's been entrusted with this monumental task of restoring these churches, and it's not a job for the faint of heart.
I bet. And in the 60 Minutes piece, they mentioned that Warwick has to tread carefully, right? Because every piece of stone is considered sacred. So it's not as simple as just slapping on some new mortar or replacing damaged sections, is it?
Exactly. You can't just treat it like any other restoration project. You're dealing with a living, breathing, spiritual site. Warwick actually has to work very closely with the priests. He has to seek their permission for every intervention, every drill hole, every replacement stone.
Wow. So it's like a collaboration between modern conservation techniques and ancient spiritual beliefs. I'm curious, what are some of the specific challenges Warwick faces? What makes this restoration project so unique?
Well, for starters, the quality of the basalt. It varies greatly from one area to the next. Remember the good stone, and very bad stone we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Well, that inconsistency makes it incredibly difficult to find replacement materials that actually match the original, in terms of color, texture, and durability.
That makes sense. You wouldn't want to patch up a centuries-old church with something that looks like it came from, like, a Home Depot parking lot.
Exactly. And then you also have the issue of dust. Even the act of drilling or chiseling, it creates this dust, and that's considered sacred because it's part of the original structure. So Warwick, he has to collect all of the dust, I mean, every tiny particle, and it's carefully stored, or it's returned to the church.
That's incredible. It really highlights the level of reverence they have for every aspect of these churches. It's like they believe that even the dust carries the spirit of Lalibela.
There's a story in the 60 Minutes piece that I thought really captured Warwick's approach. He was tasked with restoring a broken cross. And instead of just replacing it entirely, what he did was he meticulously crafted a new piece that fit over the original fragment.
Oh!
So he preserved as much of the original structure as possible.
That's like delicate surgery. It's like the patient is a sacred work of art.
Precisely. And it highlights the tension between preservation and reverence. A tension that's at the heart of so much conservation work.
Yeah.
How do you protect something without altering its essence? How do you intervene without erasing those traces of time and history?
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act. And speaking of good intentions gone awry, what about those, they called them gas station roofs in the 60 Minutes piece?
Yeah.
It sounded like an attempt to protect the churches, but it ended up causing more harm than good.
Yes. The umbrellas.
Yeah.
So about a dozen years ago, 5 large umbrellas were erected over some of the churches to protect them from the rain and erosion. You know, it seemed like a logical solution at the time.
But it backfired.
Well, yeah, it did. By completely shielding the churches from rain, what happened was they disrupted the natural moisture balance of the stone.
So instead of this gradual weathering, the stone started to dry out too quickly.
Exactly. And that led to new problems, such as microfractures, crumbling, and this loss of the rich red patina that had developed over centuries.
Wow.
It's a reminder that even with the best intentions, interventions in a delicate ecosystem in a place like Lalibela, they can have unintended consequences.
It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet and you accidentally flood the entire house.
Right.
It highlights the need for a deeper understanding of that complex interplay between nature, culture, and human intervention. But despite all these setbacks, there's still hope for the future of Lalibela, right?
Absolutely. The World Monuments Fund, this US-based charity that's dedicated to preserving cultural heritage sites, they've been working closely with the Ethiopian government and local communities to develop a more sustainable approach to conservation.
Oh, that's encouraging. What are some of their key initiatives?
Well, one of their primary focuses is training local people in conservation techniques.
Oh, sure.
This not only ensures that the work is done with sensitivity and respect for local traditions, but it also empowers the community to take ownership of the preservation efforts.
Yeah.
You know, they're passing on this vital knowledge to future generations.
It's brilliant. It's not just about fixing problems. It's about building a long-term solution.
Right.
Creating a legacy of stewardship for Lalibela. What kind of training are they providing?
Well, they're teaching a wide range of skills, everything from traditional masonry techniques to modern conservation methods. They're even training people in how to assess the condition of the stone,
Wow.
how to identify areas of weakness, and how to develop appropriate interventions.
So it sounds like they're creating a whole team of Lalibela guardians, people who are equipped to protect these churches for centuries to come. And what's the long-term prognosis? Will these churches be around for another 800 years?
Well, the World Monuments Fund, they're optimistic. Their experts believe that with proper care, ongoing conservation efforts, and the continued dedication of the local community, Lalibela could last for another 900 years, or even a millennium.
Wow. Imagine that these incredible structures, carved with such devotion centuries ago, still standing 1,000 years from now. It's inspiring to think about the human stories that will continue to unfold within their walls, the prayers that will be whispered, the journeys that will culminate at their thresholds.
It's a powerful reminder of the enduring legacy of faith, artistry, and human resilience. Lalibela, it stands as a testament to our ability to create something that transcends time, something that speaks to the deepest longings of the human spirit.
And it brings us back to the question we posed at the very beginning. Why? Why go to such extraordinary lengths to carve these churches out of solid rock? Was it simply a display of architectural prowess, a testament to their faith, or something more?
Well, the 60 Minutes piece, it offered a possible answer, drawing on a quote from the book of Isaiah. "Look to the rock from which you were cut, to the quarry from which you were hewn."
That's a powerful image. It suggests that these churches aren't just structures, but they're symbols. reminders of our own origins, our connection to something larger than ourselves.
It's about recognizing the source of our strength, that foundation upon which we build our lives, both physically and spiritually.
So it's not just about admiring the churches from afar. It's about reflecting on our own journeys, the rocks we carve our own lives from.
Exactly. What are the values we hold dear? What are the challenges we face? And how do we, like the people of Lalibela, carve beauty and meaning out of the raw material of our experiences?
Those are some big questions. And speaking of big questions, there's another fascinating aspect of Lalibela that we haven't really touched on yet. The claim that it houses the Ark of the Covenant. We delved into the story behind that claim, but what about the debate surrounding it? Is there any actual evidence to support it?
Well, that's where things get even more intriguing. The location of the Ark of the Covenant. It's been one of history's greatest mysteries, and there have been various claims and theories swirling around it for centuries. Some people believe it was destroyed, others believe that it's hidden away in some secret location, and some, of course, believe it's right there on Lalibela.
It's like a real-life Indiana Jones adventure. So what's the evidence, or lack thereof, to support the Lalibela claim?
Well, there's no concrete, verifiable proof.
Right.
And that just adds to the mystique.
Right.
You see, the Ark, if it does exist, would be a priceless religious relic, and its location would be guarded with the utmost secrecy. But the lack of physical evidence? Well, that doesn't necessarily disprove the claim either.
So it becomes a matter of faith, of interpretation.
In a way, yes. For many Ethiopians, the belief that the Ark resides in Lalibela, it's an integral part of their faith. It's part of their cultural heritage. It's a belief that has been passed down for generations. It's woven into the fabric of their history and their identity.
It makes you wonder if the true power of the Ark, if it lies not in its physical presence, but in the belief it inspires, the hope that it represents.
That's a fascinating perspective. And it connects to this broader theme that we've been exploring throughout this whole deep dive, the power of belief to shape our understanding of the world.
Yeah.
To inspire us to create, to endure, to hope.
So whether or not the Ark actually physically resides in Lalibela, its presence is felt, in the faith of the people, in the devotion that built these churches, in the pilgrimages that continue to this day. It's almost like a tangible manifestation of their belief, a symbol of their connection to the divine.
It's a testament to the enduring power of faith to transcend the boundaries of time and space, to shape not just individual lives, but entire cultures and civilizations.
It's incredible to think that a place like Lalibela, carved from solid rock centuries ago, can still speak to us today. It can still inspire us to ponder those big questions, to reflect on our own beliefs and values.
Yeah, it's a reminder that sometimes the most profound truths are found not in textbooks or scientific journals, but in the stories we tell, the places we build, the legacies that we leave behind.
And speaking of legacies, let's bring this back to you, our listener. We've explored the history, the architecture, the faith, the challenges, and the hopes surrounding Lalibela. But what does it all mean for you, sitting there, perhaps sipping your coffee, taking in this incredible story?
I think there are some profound takeaways here, lessons that go far beyond the boundaries of this ancient site. For one, Lalibela reminds us of the power of human ingenuity and determination. Think about it. With limited tools and technology, they carved these intricate structures out of solid rock. It challenges our modern-day perception of what's possible, doesn't it?
It's a testament to what we can achieve when we set our minds to something, when we combine vision with perseverance.
Absolutely. Lalibela also highlights the importance of preservation. Not just of physical structures, but of knowledge, traditions, and the stories that connect us to our past. The efforts to preserve these churches, they're as much about safeguarding a cultural heritage as they are about protecting the stone itself.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we're not just inheritors of the past. We're also its custodians, responsible for passing on these treasures to future generations.
And finally, Lalibela, it speaks to the enduring power of belief. Whether it's faith in a higher power, belief in ourselves, or just the unwavering conviction to create something lasting and meaningful, belief is a powerful force that can shape our lives and it can shape our world.
And that brings us to a point that really struck me in the 60 Minutes piece. They said, in the presence of a miracle, faith is never washed away. And, even if you're not a religious person,
right,
there's something about Lalibela that just makes you believe in the power of something bigger than yourself.
It's true.
Whether you call it faith or hope or the human spirit, I don't know.
It's that sense of awe.
Yeah.
That feeling of being in the presence of something truly extraordinary, something that just transcends our our everyday experiences.
Yeah.
And Lalibela definitely offers that, in spades.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into this incredible place, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this story?
I think it's this reminder
Okay.
that even in a world that often feels, cynical and divided,
Yeah.
there are still places and people who embody hope, resilience, and that enduring power of belief. Lalibela is a testament to that spirit.
Yeah.
A beacon of light, really, carved in stone.
And it challenges us to find those Lalibelas, in our own lives. Maybe it's a cause we're passionate about, or a creative project that we're pouring our heart into, or simply, the act of just showing up for the people that we love day after day.
It's about finding those things that connect us to something larger than ourselves.
Yeah.
The things that give our lives meaning and purpose.
And perhaps, like the people of Lalibela, we can find inspiration in those rocks, the rocks that we carve our own lives from, the challenges we overcome, the legacies that we leave behind.
Because even the smallest act of creation,
Yeah.
even the most humble expression of faith, it can have this ripple effect that extends, far beyond our own lifetimes.
So as you go about your day, we challenge you to look for those moments of wonder, those sparks of inspiration, those opportunities to create your own Lalibela, however that manifests in your life. And remember, sometimes the most incredible journeys, they begin with a single step, a single chisel stroke, a single act of faith. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Lalibela.